The morning buzz of the Pentagon was sharper than usual, the corridors filled with a tense energy that made even the stoic guards shift uneasily. Inside the main briefing room, Captain Michael Turner, along with other military leaders, was ushered in swiftly, their expressions a mix of curiosity and concern. General Hartman stood at the front, clearing his throat as the last of the whispers died down. At 0330 hours, our deep space monitoring station picked up a transmission. It wasn't just any stray signal. It was deliberate, structured, and most importantly, alien. A murmur rippled through the room. Michael leaned forward, his mind racing with possibilities. "Let's hear it then," Admiral Liu, a stout woman with a no-nonsense demeanor, called out. The lights dimmed and the audio filled the room. A series of structured beeps followed by an eerie silence, and then a voice, unnaturally calm and metallic. "To the leaders of Earth, we are the Zalari. We have observed you. Surrender peacefully to our coalition or face consequences." The room erupted into chaos, voices overlapping in a cacophony of disbelief and urgent questions. "Quiet," General Hartman barked. "We need to approach this strategically. Ideas now." Michael stood, his voice cutting through the noise. "We need more info. Who are they? What are their capabilities? Without intelligence, we're shooting in the dark." Lieutenant Colonel Ramirez, the head of intelligence, nodded in agreement. "Captain Turner's right. We've started scanning for any anomalies or ships in our solar system. So far it's clear, but our range is limited." Admiral Liu frowned. "And if they come with technology far beyond ours?" "That's where we might have an edge," Michael interjected. "We assume their tech is better because they reached out first, but we have something no technology can replicate: our unpredictability and ability to adapt quickly." Dr. Emily Sanders, a civilian advisor in alien technologies, spoke up. "We also shouldn't assume hostility just from the message. This could be a standard approach in their culture. Misinterpretation could lead us into unnecessary conflict." General Hartman considered this. "All right, Turner, I want you to form a response team. Sanders, you're with him. Dig into this alien tech as much as you can. Ramirez, full surveillance sweep. Leo, prep the fleets, defensive positions only. We need to be ready for anything but not provoke a battle." As the others nodded and began to disperse, Michael lingered by the screen displaying the Zalari message. Dr. Sanders approached him, her gaze thoughtful. "Do you think we're ready for this, Captain?" she asked, her voice low. Michael turned to her, a determined glint in his eye. "We have to be, Dr. Sanders. Whatever this is, it's not just a threat, it's a test. And it's one we need to pass, not just for our sake, but for humanity's." Together they walked out, the weight of their task settling over them like a cloak, ready to dive into the unknown realms of interstellar diplomacy and potential conflict. The game had changed overnight, and Earth was now playing on a galactic scale. The sprawling United Nations headquarters in New York had seen countless tense gatherings, but none quite like this. As leaders from around the world convened in the main assembly hall, a palpable sense of urgency hung in the air. The hall buzzed with a blend of languages and hushed conversations as diplomats and heads of state whispered amongst themselves, their eyes darting to the large digital screen set up at the front of the room. Captain Michael Turner arrived with Dr. Emily Sanders, feeling the weight of every gaze as they made their way to their seats. Beside them, General Hartman was already deep in discussion with Admiral Liu, their heads bowed together over a digital tablet. Secretary General Akwasi Mensah called the meeting to order, his voice steady despite the tension. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to discuss a matter of urgent global concern, the first confirmed contact with an extraterrestrial civilization known as the Zalari." He paused to let his words sink in before continuing. "The message we received was clear. We are to surrender or face consequences. We need to decide on a course of action." Michael leaned over to Dr. Sanders, whispering, "It's crucial we convey the need for a united front." As discussions began, different nations voiced their perspectives. Some advocated for immediate military preparation, others for cautious diplomacy. The Russian delegate, a stern woman named Minister Ivanova, was particularly vocal. "We must show strength. An immediate display of military readiness will deter any potential aggression." In contrast, Brazil's Ambassador Souza argued for a strategic approach. "We need intelligence. We cannot react blindly without understanding their capabilities or intentions." Michael stood, capturing the room's attention. "With all due respect, both approaches have their merits," he began, his voice calm but authoritative. "However, we need a plan that combines them. We should prepare defensively, but also seek more information. We need to engage them, learn from them, and if necessary, show that Earth is not a target to be trifled with. General Hartman stood to back him up. Captain Turner leads our first response team. We have already begun operations to assess and counter any potential threats. We are preparing, but not provoking. Dr. Sanders added, our response must also be scientifically informed. We should consider sending a message back, one that shows we're civilized and rational. It might help de-escalate the situation. Secretary General Mensah nodded thoughtfully. I propose setting up a combined task force, military leaders like Captain Turner, and scientists like Dr. Sanders to lead our engagement strategy. We need to balance our response carefully. The Assembly agreed to the proposal with a majority vote, setting the stage for a complex, coordinated global response. Michael felt the burden of his responsibility as he left the Assembly with his team. Outside, Michael turned to his team, a mix of military and civilian experts. We have a lot of work ahead. Let's start by crafting a message back to the Zalari, one that's firm but open for dialogue. Admiral Liu looked at Michael, her expression grim but supportive. Let's hope they're listening, Captain. As they walked back to their temporary command center set up across the street, the reality of their situation was clear. Earth was uniting in a way it never had before, facing an unknown future that depended as much on diplomatic skill as on military might. The stakes were high, but so was the resolve to protect humanity's place in the cosmos. Aboard the stealth ship Orion, hovering in the shadow of a small asteroid near the human-Zalari border, Captain Michael Turner reviewed the latest surveillance data with his response team. The interior of the ship was bathed in the blue glow of monitors displaying maps of known Zalari positions and movements. All right, team, Michael started, his eyes scanning the room. Our primary objective is not engagement but intelligence. We need to know their strengths, weaknesses, and potential tactics before we can plan any form of counter-strategy. Lieutenant Kim Park, the team's communications expert, piped up from her console. We've managed to intercept some Zalari transmissions, Captain. It's mostly routine communications, but there's enough here to start mapping out their patrol routes. Good work, Kim, Michael nodded. Keep monitoring. Any change in their pattern could indicate they've detected us. Nearby, Dr. Emily Sanders worked alongside a small team of scientists, analyzing the intercepted data for any technological insights. Michael, come take a look at this, she beckoned, pointing to a series of images on her screen. Michael walked over, peering at the data. What are we looking at? It seems like the Zalari ships use a form of quantum entanglement for communication, Emily explained. It's advanced, but there might be a way to disrupt it temporarily. It could give us an edge in the field if we need to escape detection. Get on it, Emily. Every little advantage helps, Michael said, turning back to the main console where Commander Ryan Brooks, his second-in-command, was coordinating the ship's stealth systems. Ryan looked up, his face serious. We've got a Zalari scout ship coming our way, likely just doing a routine sweep. Our stealth tech is holding for now, but this will be a real test of our capabilities. Michael watched the screen closely as the alien ship drew nearer. Maintain course and keep systems silent. Let's see if our tech can really make us invisible. Minutes ticked by, each second stretching longer than the last. The Zalari ship passed close enough to see individual lights flickering on its hull. And then, just as silently as it had arrived, it moved on, unaware of the human ship it had just skimmed. The crew let out a collective breath. Michael allowed himself a small smile. Well done, everyone. Let's use this opportunity to follow them at a safe distance. We might discover something useful. As Orion tailed the alien ship, Michael and his team continued to gather valuable intel. They mapped Zalari supply routes, communication hubs, and even isolated some weak signals from what appeared to be less fortified outposts. Back on Earth, General Hartman received their preliminary reports with growing optimism. Keep up the good work, Captain. This information is gold. It's painting a picture we can use to our advantage. As the mission continued, Michael knew they were playing a dangerous game. But with each successful operation, humanity's understanding of the Zalari grew. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about safeguarding Earth's future in the galaxy, and perhaps laying the groundwork for eventual peace. On the planet Vindara, a lush, neutral world known for its diplomatic neutrality, Captain Michael Turner and Dr. Emily Sanders stood before a council comprised of representatives from various interstellar civilizations. The grand hall, carved into the side of a massive tree-like structure, hummed with the soft chatter of dozens of alien dialects. Remember, Michael, Dr. Sanders whispered as they approached the podium. We're not just here to gain allies, but to learn. Any piece of information could be crucial. Michael nodded, adjusting the translator device pinned to his collar. Let's make sure they see the value in supporting us. As they took the podium, a hush fell over the assembly. Michael cleared his throat, the translator device buzzing softly as it calibrated to the diverse audience. Esteemed members of the Vinderan Council, I'm Captain Michael Turner, representing Earth. Next to me is Dr. Emily Sanders, one of our top scientists. We come before you today in a spirit of cooperation and mutual respect. A murmur of acknowledgement rippled through the crowd. Michael continued, Our planet is currently facing a threat from the Zalari, a civilization that believes in dominance over diplomacy. We believe that some of you may have insights or experiences with the Zalari that could be beneficial. From the crowd, a delegate from the Tsai, a bird-like species known for their acute intelligence, stood up. The Zalari expansion has disrupted many trade routes affecting our economy. We are interested in your methods of resistance. Emily took over, projecting images of Earth's recent covert operations. We've been able to avoid outright conflict while gathering intelligence and strengthening our defenses. With your help, we can extend these tactics to protect other civilizations impacted by the Zalari. A representative from the aquatic Gaharn people spoke next. Your approach is novel. The Gaharn are willing to share underwater technologies that may enhance your stealth capabilities. Michael smiled, sensing the tide turning in their favor. Thank you. We value your expertise and look forward to collaborating. As the meeting progressed, more delegates expressed their interest in forming what Michael proposed as the Alliance of the Starbound, a coalition of civilizations standing together against common threats. They discussed shared technologies, intelligence networks, and strategic military collaborations. After the assembly, Michael and Emily met with a small group of delegates to hammer out the details of their cooperation. This is more than I hoped for, Emily admitted as they worked through the night, drafting plans and treaties. Michael, looking over a star map dotted with new allies and strategic points, felt a rare sense of hope. It's a good start, but the real work begins now, integrating our forces and maintaining this fragile alliance. As they prepared to return to Earth, news arrived from the Orion. The intelligence gathered had provided leads on potential Zalari vulnerabilities. With the support of their new allies and this crucial information, Earth was no longer alone or unprepared. The mission to Vindara had been a success, but Michael knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges. Yet, with the alliance of the Starbound behind them, humanity stood a better chance of facing the Zalari threat, not just with hope, but with a tangible plan of action. The newly formed alliance of the Starbound convened its forces near the Zalari-controlled star system of Calaris, a region notorious for its fragmented moons and perilous asteroid belts. Captain Michael Turner, leading the charge from the flagship Sovereign, studied the holographic star map, noting the positions of their allied fleets and the Zalari forces. Commander Ryan Brooks, Michael's second-in-command, approached with the latest intelligence reports. We've spotted Zalari patrols in Sectors 4 and 7, Captain. Our scouts confirm their main fleet is stationed near the third moon. Perfect, Michael murmured, plotting their course. Ryan, coordinate with the Tsai and Gaharn commanders. We'll need their fleets to flank the Zalari while we hit them with a frontal assault. As the battle plans were relayed, Dr. Emily Sanders and her team of scientists worked feverishly to integrate the Gaharn underwater technology with human stealth systems, enhancing the Alliance ship's ability to maneuver undetected through the asteroid field. The Sovereign led the vanguard, slipping silently through the shadow of a shattered moon. Michael watched the view screen intently, the blue-green glow of the Gaharn tech illuminating the ship's hull. All ships, maintain formation and keep communications to a minimum. We strike on my mark. The tense silence of anticipation hung over the fleet as they navigated the treacherous terrain. Suddenly, a burst of energy lit up the space around them. The Zalari had detected an outlier in their perimeter. Now! Michael barked. Instantly, the Allied fleets surged forward, breaking from the shadows with a barrage of coordinated fire. The Zalari, caught off guard, scrambled to mount a defense. In the chaos, the Tsai squadrons swooped in from above, their agility turning the tide as they picked off Zalari ships trying to regroup. Below, the Gaharn deployed their specialized torpedoes, designed to navigate through debris with lethal precision. The battle raged fiercely, starlight reflecting off shattered hulls and broken moons. Amidst the cacophony, Michael kept his focus, directing the fleets with a calm born of countless simulations and real engagements. "Push forward," he commanded as the Zalari's lines began to falter. "Let's give them a reason to think twice about threatening another world." As the Sovereign pressed deeper into the Zalari formation, a massive Zalari dreadnought emerged from behind the largest moon, its guns blazing. Michael assessed the situation rapidly. "Emily, is the new tech ready?" "Yes, Captain. Activating now," she replied, her fingers dancing across the console. A wave of energy pulsed from the Sovereign, rendering it and the surrounding Allied ships nearly invisible. Confused and unable to lock onto their targets, the Zalari dreadnought fired blindly, missing its marks. Seizing the moment, the Allied fleets converged on the dreadnought, unleashing everything they had. Under the relentless assault, the dreadnought's shields buckled, and it began to drift, crippled. As the remaining Zalari ships retreated, cheers erupted across the Allied channels. Michael allowed himself a brief smile, then turned to his crew. "Well done, everyone, but stay sharp. This victory is significant, but the war is far from over." In the aftermath, the Battle of Broken Moons would be hailed as a turning point, showcasing not just human determination and tactical ingenuity, but the strength of unity among the stars. As they counted their losses and salvaged what they could, Michael knew that the hardest part of their journey was still ahead. Yet with each victory, the alliance of the Starbound grew not just in strength, but in resolve, ready to face whatever challenges the galaxy held. With the Zalari reeling from their defeat at the Battle of Broken Moons, the Allied forces, under Captain Michael Turner's command, pressed their advantage, aiming directly for the Zalari homeworld, Zalar. The planet, known for its formidable defenses and intricate network of satellites and space stations, represented the ultimate challenge for the alliance of the Starbound. As the fleet approached Zalar, Michael convened a strategy meeting aboard the flagship Sovereign. "This is their stronghold," he addressed the room, filled with key military leaders and tactical advisors from various Allied races. "Their defenses will be unlike anything we've encountered. We need a plan that leverages our combined strengths." Dr. Emily Sanders, now a seasoned war strategist alongside her scientific expertise, suggested, "Their satellite system is their first line of defense. If we can disable it, even temporarily, it would give us a significant opening." Commander Ryan Brooks added, "The TSI engineers have been working on a device that can send a pulse to disrupt the satellite communications. It's risky, but it's our best shot at leveling the playing field." Michael nodded. "Prepare the device. Meanwhile, we'll need diversionary attacks along the perimeter to draw their fleet out of position." The operations began with precision. The TSI-engineered pulse device was deployed stealthily, its activation timed perfectly with the diversionary assaults by the Gaharn and human forces. As predicted, the Zalari satellites blinked out, plunging their communications into chaos. Taking advantage of the confusion, Michael led the main assault force directly toward the planet's surface. The battle was fierce, with Zalari defense ships swarming to protect their homeworld. The sky above Zalar turned into a canvas of light and destruction, but the Allied forces, now well-coordinated and battle-hardened, methodically pushed forward. As they broke through the orbital defenses, Michael directed part of the fleet to continue engaging the Zalari ships while he led a ground team, including both military personnel and diplomats, onto the surface. Their goal was not just to win a battle, but to seek a resolution. Landing amidst the ruins of a once great Zalari city, Michael broadcast an open message to the planet. "People of Zalar, we come not as conquerors, but as liberators. Your leaders have misled you into war. Join us in forging a new path, one of peace and cooperation." Surprisingly, the response was not immediate aggression, but cautious intrigue from various factions within Zalari society. It became clear that not all Zalari supported their leaders' aggressive policies. Negotiations began, tense and fraught with the risk of betrayal. Yet, day by day, more Zalari came forward, swayed not by fear, but by the promise of ending a war that had brought them only suffering. Amid these tense negotiations, Michael received shocking intelligence from Dr. Sanders. "Michael, we've intercepted communications not from the Zalari, but directing them. It seems there's another player in the game, one who's been orchestrating part of this conflict for their gain." Michael absorbed the news with a heavy heart. "Prepare a full report, Emily. This war, it's bigger than we thought." As the sun set over Zalar, reflecting off the damaged but still standing structures, Michael looked out over the city. They had achieved more than just a military victory. They had opened a door to potentially ending the conflict through understanding and diplomacy. But the revelation of a hidden manipulator meant their struggle was far from over. They needed to prepare, not just to defend, but to expose and confront the unseen enemy pulling the strings. The atmosphere in the war room aboard the Sovereign was tense as Captain Michael Turner and Dr. Emily Sanders, along with their senior staff, reviewed the newly uncovered evidence. A vast network of covert communications linked not only the Zalari, but several unassuming galactic factions to a mysterious and influential empire, the Verox. This empire had been manipulating smaller civilizations into conflict to extend its own dominion. According to the intercepts, Emily detailed, the Verox have been stoking conflicts for decades. The Zalari were just their latest pawns pushed towards aggressive expansion. Michael leaned forward, absorbing the gravity of the situation. So our fight against the Zalari might have just been a diversion, a way for the Verox to weaken the galaxy's fringe civilizations. Commander Ryan Brooks clenched his fists. We've been dancing to their tune without even knowing it. It's time we change the music. Michael nodded in agreement. We need to bring this information to the Alliance. If we stand united against the Verox, they'll lose their advantage of secrecy and manipulation. The Alliance of the Starbound convened in an emergency session, with Michael presenting the intercepted communications. The revelation shocked the Assembly, but it also galvanized them. A resolution was swiftly passed to extend the Alliance's purpose from defending against the Zalari to exposing and countering the Verox threat. With new resolve, the Alliance launched a series of covert operations aimed at gathering more intel on the Verox and their galactic activities. Meanwhile, diplomatic efforts increased, with Michael and his team working to bring more civilizations into the fold, including those previously under Zalari control. As the campaign progressed, a counter-strategy began to form. Michael and the Alliance's military leaders designed a series of strikes on known Verox holdings, aiming to cripple their infrastructure and cut off their avenues of influence. During one critical operation, Michael led a special task force to a Verox-controlled system where they captured a high-ranking Verox commander. The interrogation revealed the extent of the Verox's network and their long-term goal of galactic domination. This isn't just about military might, Michael realized. It's about the narrative. They've been controlling the story. We need to take that power back. The Alliance started broadcasting the truths about the Verox, using evidence from their operations. As the truth spread, support for the Verox waned, and many of their manipulated conflicts began to de-escalate. In the climactic phase of their strategy, the Alliance launched a decisive strike against the Verox capital. The battle was long and brutal, but the united front of the starbound forces gradually overwhelmed the Verox defenses. As the Verox Empire began to crumble, a peace treaty was drafted, one that included significant provisions for transparency and the disbandment of their covert operations. Michael, standing before the newly formed Galactic Council, signed the treaty on behalf of the Alliance, his heart heavy with the cost of their victory, but hopeful for the future. We've been given a chance to rebuild, Michael addressed the Council, his voice steady. Let's build not on the sands of deceit, but on the bedrock of mutual respect and cooperation. The Council erupted in applause, a sound that echoed through the chambers and into the new era it heralded. As Michael looked around at the faces of countless species, once enemies, now allies, he knew the real work was just beginning. In the aftermath of the Verox's defeat, the galactic community faced the daunting task of rebuilding and redefining its structure. Under the banner of the newly established Galactic Council, races that had once eyed each other with suspicion now sat together, committed to fostering an era of peace and cooperation. Captain Michael Turner, representing Earth and the Alliance of the Starbound, was at the forefront of these efforts. The council chambers on the planet Unity, a world chosen for its symbolic neutrality, buzzed with activity. Leaders and diplomats from across the galaxy gathered to draft and debate the new constitution that would guide them forward. Michael, weary yet determined, worked tirelessly. We have a unique opportunity, he told the Assembly. We can create a galactic community that values diversity and shared responsibility. Let's ensure that no single power can ever again manipulate us into conflict. Dr. Emily Sanders, now appointed as Earth's ambassador to the Council, supported Michael's proposals, which included the establishment of a transparent governance structure and a multi-species peacekeeping force. As the days turned into weeks, the Constitution began to take shape. Key provisions included the protection of sovereignty for all member worlds, the creation of a trade and aid network to support war-torn regions, and the establishment of a Truth and Reconciliation Committee to address grievances and historical manipulations by the Verox. During a break in the negotiations, Michael stepped out onto the terrace overlooking Unity's sprawling capital. The city was a blend of architectural styles from hundreds of worlds, a testament to the potential of collaborative effort. Commander Ryan Brooks joined him, handing him a steaming cup of coffee. "It's hard to believe, isn't it? From the brink of subservience under the Zalari to this," Ryan remarked, gesturing to the bustling city below. Michael nodded, sipping his coffee. "It's more than I hoped for. But the real test will be maintaining this unity. We can't forget the lessons of the past." The final session of the council was a marathon. Speeches were made, appeals heard, and votes cast. When the gavel finally struck, signifying the unanimous adoption of the new constitution, the chamber erupted in a standing ovation. Michael felt a surge of pride and relief. They had done it. They had laid the groundwork for a future built on cooperation and mutual respect. In his closing address, Michael reflected on the journey they had undertaken. This Constitution is not just a set of laws, it is a promise to look beyond our differences and work together for a common good. Let us be diligent, let us be proactive, and above all, let us be kind. Our diversity is our strength. As the council adjourned, Michael and Emily walked together through the halls of the council building, their steps echoing softly. "What will you do now?" Emily asked, a note of curiosity in her voice. "I think I'll take some time to return to Earth, see my family," Michael replied, his voice tinged with a longing for normalcy. "But I'll be back. There's still so much to do here." "And they'll need you," Emily agreed, smiling. "But for now, enjoy the peace you helped create." The sun set over Unity, casting long shadows and bathing the city in a golden light. Michael looked out one last time, a sense of accomplishment mingling with anticipation for the future. The galaxy was forever changed, and while the path ahead was uncertain, it was one they would navigate together. As he turned to leave, he felt ready for whatever challenges or adventures lay ahead, knowing that Earth was now an integral part of this vast, interconnected universe.